Hello everyone, welcome live to 3Y TV tonight's broadcast of the National Sim Racing Association Simbox Truck Series right here from the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Tonight's a big race. It is the final race before the Chase cutoff. We're going to find out what 10 drivers will compete for the championship over the next 7 weeks here tonight. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth, as always, is Drew Eisenman. We'll be giving you live flag-to-flag coverage here tonight around the North Wilkesboro Speedway. And Drew, this is a famed racetrack, a very unique one, and going to be awesome to see all the short track action here tonight.
Yeah, it's one of those tracks that drivers typically love or hate. Kind of the most unique, probably, of the short tracks here on iRacing. You got uphill, downhill, variable, banking in the old school way. A really fun track, typically pretty multi-groove as far as short tracks are concerned, and I think it's going to put on a heck of a show here, Peter.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We ride on board with the number 5 machine of Ben Adams. He's one of those drivers on the inside of the top 10 in points. That is the cutoff point to get you into the playoffs. We'll bring up those current standings coming into tonight. You see all those names in green: Lorello, Edwards, Price, Adams, Buck, Milliner, and Darling. They will all make it into the Simbox Truck Series Chase. But then you have 3 drivers. Their names are in white: Jeffrey Johnson Jr., Colin Ullery, and Ben Adams. They are on the bubble here tonight. You'll see their names in yellow, or their numbers in yellow on the top of your screen and on the left-hand bar here tonight. And then you have Andrew Himmelman, Robert Dudley, Justin White. Those 3 drivers have a mathematical chance of making it in to the Chase, but it's going to take a big night for one of those 3 drivers to make it in. Their numbers will be in red on the ticker here tonight. Sobel, Shepler, Bilson, they cannot make it into the Chase here tonight, unfortunately. Meanwhile, we'll bring up the qualifying leaderboard right now, because Doug Neal, the number 77 machine, the man who started the Simbox Truck Series season on the pole back in the Simbox 250 back at Daytona, all the way back around the September-October time frame. That number 77 currently atop the leaderboard right now over the man who has been dominant all season long, James Lorello. An 18.709 to Lorello's 18.713. Look at Chris Darling there, an 18.717. And Drew, I'm thinking back to Darling. He was so fast. We're watching him right now. He was so fast back at Richmond, and felt like he had a shot at the win that night. Felt like he had it taken away from him. But here he is, fast again on a short track.
And this is, I mean, a little different than Richmond, but I think it's probably more comparable to Richmond than any other short track at North Wilkesboro, right? You kind of have those higher speeds entering the corner, the relatively flat corner speeds, kind of the late apexes that you see at Richmond. So I expect Chris Darling to be pretty quick here as well. The real question is, will he shoot himself in the foot coming on and off pit road like we've seen probably a few too many times this season, as we got a driver, I believe, I couldn't quite tell who that was, Peter, spinning. But yeah, Doug Neal, I mean, kind of a guy that I wasn't necessarily anticipating being as quick as he has been thus far, especially in qualifying right now, maintaining the provisional pole with Jordan Shepler now in that 13 truck taking times. But I think this is one of those tracks that will really favor that truck that we focused on earlier, the 47 of Chris Darling. You know, this is one of those tracks where if you really overdrive the entry, if you run the suboptimal line, you're going to really wear out that right front. And it looks like these trucks have been fairly tight in practice, which once again, it's going to be about saving those tires. So I think of guys like James Zarello. I think of guys like Chris Darling as far as the guys that I anticipate running up front here. But another big talking point, you mentioned it a little bit ago, is that last position in points. It's really between Ben Adams and the rest of those guys. I think that Colin Ullery and Jeffrey Johnson Jr. are basically locked in. I think it would take pretty exceptional things for them to fall out. But Ben Adams, you know, if he gets into a wreck early and Andrew Himmelman, gets a podium, there's a real chance of some movement there. So that's what I'm going to be keeping my eye on here, Peter.
Yeah, we're watching the number 50 of Robert Dudley work his way around the racetrack with the drone cam, and a very cool racetrack this. Of course, fairly recently added to the iRacing subscription service, and it really took a big effort for iRacing to get a scan of this racetrack. iRacing kind of patched it up. Of course, this racetrack in almost a state of disrepair in real life. but iRacing was able to go out there and scan it and get it into the service, and I'm sure a lot of these drivers will be enjoying it here tonight. The racetrack here now relatively silent, and it does look like the 77 of Doug Neal will be picking up the Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award in that number 77 machine. Great job by him and his crew to pick up that award, much like he did, like I mentioned, at the start of the season, all the way back at Daytona so long ago. We'll see exactly where that number 77 machine is, because I'm sure he's out there already on the grid waiting to get going. And Drew, why don't we go through tonight's starting lineup?
Doug Neal, your pole sitter here tonight. James Zarella will be starting second. Chris Darling in third. Joshua Sobel continues his second half of the season resurgence, qualifying in fourth. Jason Freeman, some drama last week, able to do so well. He qualifies fifth with fellow newcomer, fellow Jason Gracias will be starting in sixth position. Mitchell Adams, a little bit further back than I think at least I was expecting, starting in P7. JT Poole in eighth. Nathan Maurer starting in P9. And Ben Adams, the guy that we're going to be keeping our eye on all night as far as championship implications are concerned, will be starting P10.
And then on row number 6, Ray Heilig on the inside with Ben Mashburn in the number 24. Great looking race truck here tonight. One of those throwback paint schemes. It is a little bit of a throwback race here tonight. And behind him will be the number 4 of Himmelman on the inside. That Dale Earnhardt Jr. inspired throwback scheme with Jamar Dumas. The Texaco Haviland number 28 machine always sporting that throwback on his outside. Row number 8 on the inside, Doug Milliner will be starting in 15th position with that Mark Martin Viagra throwback, with Bill Edwards starting to his outside in the number 50. Then on row number 9 on the inside, that'd be the number 48 of Matt Cherry with Peter Serto in the Jansen number 32 machine. You see him getting his tires warmed up there, weaving his wheel back and forth. And then behind them on row number 10, Philip Scott and Jordan Scheffler rounding out your top 20, Drew.
Jay Buck will be sporting that throwback 84 scheme tonight, that yellow and light blue, with Barry Knapp starting to his outside in that 42 truck. 10 Amani Glover, kind of a Jennifer Joe Cobb looking scheme for that 10. He will be starting in 23rd with Robert Dudley starting on his outside in 24th. Adam Dama in the 82 truck will be starting in P25 with the 62 of Colin Ullery in that chrome Red Bull scheme starting in 26th. And then Matt Vanderkoy and Jeffrey Johnson Jr., another one of our championship guys, starting in P27 and 28 respectively.
And that's going to do it for your starting lineup. The field just one lap away from taking the green flag in what will be the final regular season race of the year. You see those balloons drifting off into the distance. One of the key things here about this race were those balloons back in the day. They always used to launch them at the start of the race, and they do it here in iRacing as well. Great to see iRacing continue that North Wilkesboro tradition. But let's go up to the front of the field and let's get our eyes situated for Doug Neal to take the green flag here tonight. We're going racing at North Wilkesboro, and already Lorello out to a good start to his outside.
Yeah, great start by that 9 truck. So often this year we've seen the guys controlling the start of the race doing a great job, but we got a caution here. Peter, caution on lap 1.
Yeah, we have to figure out exactly where this caution is, and it looks like it's back in turn number 1 and 2. There we go, back live, or excuse me, on replay. And Monty Glover right there. And a little bit of contact there from the number 82. That is the Army Esports Racing Machine of Adam Dama getting into the back of Monty Glover. We'll get another look at that one just briefly with the number 82. In fact, let's see if we can go on board with the number 82 right here, the U.S. Army Esports Racing Machine. Got Monty Glover right in front of them, and that's just a little bit of contact, just enough to spin Monty Glover around. Matt Vanderkoy there in the number 60 also getting a piece of it in that car. There you see him turned around, and we'll get a look at that one here from Matt Vanderkoy. But Drew, I don't think there was much Vanderkoy could do.
It kind of looked like maybe a little too deep there for that 82 truck, and just kind of one of those deals, short track racing. Unfortunate there for, but was that, the 60 truck of Vanderkoy to get caught up in that. Luckily, that pace car is not solid in iRacing, or else his night would have been much, much worse. This were in our 2002. So That's not typically something unprecedented here at North Wilkesboro and at the short tracks in iRacing in these early stages. So many trucks in such a small amount of space that you're going to see some of this contact early. But this is one of those leagues that I think that you and I have both been incredibly impressed with, Peter, on not having a ton of incidents. Really, I mean, at tracks that we expected it to be not so great, they did a fantastic job. Only one or two maybe hiccups this year, but we'll see. North Wilkesboro's a different beast. It so entices you to kind of overdrive the entry, especially on that bottom lane where there's just not the grip. But we'll see. This is a quick reset, about a corner, especially for those leaders. But Doug Neal, I think, was actually kind of benefited from that, especially considering he did not get the best of initial starts there. And then I think maybe we'll be looking to see that 77 mix it up on his restart tactics this time, Peter.
Yeah, and just want to make a notification to everyone back at home. The 82 of Adam Dama has taken his truck off the racetrack. We'll see whether or not he can get back out there. Perhaps he has a broken radiator or something on that number 82 Army Esports racing machine here tonight. Hopefully we can see him back out there. I'm sure there was no ill intent in that little bit of contact bringing out the first caution flag here tonight. Of course, last week we did go almost caution-free in that race, Drew. I know you and I were both thinking, you know what, I don't think Kentucky's going to put on a great race. It put on a stellar race. We were absolutely gobsmacked at how great of a race last week was. And if you missed that one right here on 3Y TV, where were you? Definitely go back and watch it here in the archives, because that was honestly one of the greatest races of the season, if not one of the greatest races of all time here on this YouTube channel. Meanwhile, the pace car is headed back down pit road. Race back in the hands of Doug Neal. He was able to get his nose out front of the number 9 of Lorello before the caution flag was able to wave. And we're back green here at North Wilkesboro, and again, side by side off into turn number 1.
Better this time by that 77 truck, but we shall see. This is one of those things that I was looking for early in this race. What is going to be the preferred groove? I anticipate with these trucks being at least appearing to us up in the booth to be pretty tight, and these trucks not quite having as much power as like the Xfinity B cars would have. I anticipate that high lane having an advantage, especially over these long runs. But we'll see if that 77, can he get back by James Zarello? I think he kind of cleared him right there, but he wasn't too greedy about racing James in that 9 truck. But he should clear him. Yes, he will clear him off of turn 2 down the back stretch. And that 77 of Doug Neal, our pole sitter, will secure his spot up front. Meanwhile, back in the pack, man, we have some absolutely incredible racing. 3 wide there. I want to say that's around the 10th position here, Peter. Some incredible racing now. Looking at Ray Hiley, these guys are really mixing it up, and this is one thing that the North Wilkesboro really allows you to do that I think, when Bristol was reformatted, reconfigured, that this is what they were trying to provide to drivers, is this really multi-groove possibility to be able to race guys side by side, and then I don't think it's really come to fruition in the actual non-PJ1 version of Bristol, right? The high lane became so dominant, but here at North Wilkesboro, you really can approach this track multiple ways. You can do that kind of mid-entry, late exit, like late apex exit. You can just run that high lane. You can try to keep it low and take the shorter way around. There's a ton of ways to go about it, and we're seeing that with the side-by-side racing occurring throughout the field. We're starting to get a little strung out here, but there we're looking at that 48 truck of Matt Cherry, who's been absent for quite a few weeks. Good to see that 48 truck back, Peter.
Yeah, and of course we've seen a lot of pace out of that number 48 truck this season, and definitely wasn't able to. Oh, whoa, wow, that was almost a big one. Boy, that was contact there between Jamar Dumas and Matt Cherry, and Cherry had the biggest wiggle I've seen all night. We'll go back and catch that one here on the 3-Wide TV replay. Watch this contact, Drew, just right about there, and it was just enough. It might have actually been a little bit of netco, but you can definitely see Cherry have to save that truck. Great job by him getting that truck pointed in the right direction and able to fight to see another day. Just as we put the camera on him chaos almost breaking out, but luckily we stay green. Cherry currently slotting in the 13th position, trying to run down Ben Adams in front of him. Of course, the driver who sits on the bubble coming into tonight in that number 5 machine. He's where he needs to be, Drew. Doesn't have to be in the top 10, doesn't have to have a stellar run here tonight, but Ben Adams really just needs to finish about better than 20th. And a caution flag has come out. We'll see what this caution flag is potentially for. See if we can break this one down. And I think we have. Jamar Dumas and the number 6 of Milliner. The little bit of contact there. And Dumas goes around, man, right in front of the number 15 of Dudley.
Yeah, and Dudley, one of those guys who was on the outside looking in here, able to do a really good job avoiding that. Yeah, I think we're just going to see the 6 overdrive a little bit turn in too early. He gets really far down there and gets into the door, that 28. And yeah, it's just trying to keep the thing under control or relatively under control for the 28. Does a good job of not letting things get too out of control, but did have to make an emergency run down pit road. But I don't think anybody has any real damage from that. Now looking on board again, yeah, that's just, man, on the curb there for that 6 of Doug Milliner, and I think that certainly will be attributed to that 6 truck, just kind of a little bit of a mistake here, and that can be the result. Is now though, Peter, we're seeing some guys come down pit road, some guys stay out. It's been 17 laps here, so we'll see if tires make a big difference.
Yeah, and one driver coming down pit road is the number 47 of Chris Darling. Darling, who's been having all the pit road issues. You mentioned it earlier. Looks like a good pit stop this week for the Stanley crew. Maybe they have their Stanley guns to take on and off those lug nuts. Not 100% sure, but either way, they got their P's and Q's squared away for their first pit stop of the night. But I'm looking at live timing and scoring here. The first 18 trucks stayed out under this caution flag. Meanwhile, Lorello will be the first one to pit back there. He will be restarting in 19th. So going to be fun to see that number 9 machine charge up through the field. And once it all kind of settles out, it will be fun to see. We do have a couple of trucks falling one lap down, including Monty Glover, Jamar Dumas in his pit road incident, because he had to drive through pit road. Monty Glover as well as Matt Vanderkoy, 1 lap down. Seems like Jordan Schepler in the number 13 machine. There he is. He's trying to get back up there on the racetrack to stay on the lead lap. So 24 cars on the lead lap, working lap number 21. And we'll see just how that pace car is doing. Some recent iRacing pace car modifications, which is good for that iRacing pace car. It's been having some troubles on certain tracks, and iRacing have patched it up just a little bit, so that's good news. We do have a question in the chat saying Dragon Tamer Studios asking, what's the fuel window looking like for this race? And based on what we have seen on other tracks, they should be able to go about 80 or so laps here tonight, maybe even a little bit longer with caution flags. So they have quite a bit of fuel in the tanks, and so I expect these drivers to come down pit road more often for tires than fuel, even though they do have the smaller fuel tanks here tonight, Drew. But tires can be important, and that's why I think we saw a couple drivers come down pit road.
Yes, sir. And James Dorello, Chris Darling, Josh Sobel, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th at the time, all pitted. So a little bit of a shakeup up front, but still Doug Neal out front now with that 94 truck who did so well last week. Jason Freeman is right behind him, but not a great restart for that 94 truck, as he is now being challenged by JT Poole in that kind of Jamie McMurray throwback scheme, which I'm quite partial to. So great restart by that 77. Not so great restart by that 94 is JT Poole. Looks like he has some really good pace there on that outside of that 94, and he is going to be looking to take away the 2nd position. But I'm just keeping an eye on those trucks that came down pit road. How quickly are they going to make progress through this field, Peter?
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on those cars that came down pit road. Lorello's up to 17, so he's gained 2 positions in 2 laps. Can he charge up to the field to get up to the very front here in the next 10, 15 laps? Probably not. The whole old rule is that the closer you get to the front, the harder they are to pass. So we'll keep an eye on that number 9 machine. You can see him digging there to the inside of Peter Serto there at the top of the screen, but we are focusing on this battle right now. This is the battle for the 9th position between the number 5 of Adams and the 48 of Ben Mashburn as they continue to go side by side here. Looks like Adams is going to take that position. We're going to jump up in front of them there to Ray Heilig, who's now side by side with Mitchell Adams. And look at that beautiful number 24 machine, the Jeff Gordon throwback. They're being run by Ben Mashburn here tonight. That Chevy Silverado just to his outside. That truck painted by Max Grafix, which you see on the hood of the number 48 of Matt Cherry. Great looking number 24 machine. I gotta say that one is one of the best looking paint schemes I have seen in iRacing in quite some time. It's got the spec map. It's got the gold. It is a great looking truck.
Yeah, I'm certainly partial to that. It is really cool for so many of these guys to run these kind of retro schemes back when, I don't know, when it seemed like, at least in my opinion, kind of schemes a little bit more personality out there. But speaking of personality, a little too much personality maybe as a caution now flying here on lap 29. What do we got queuing up here? Peter looking at the 30 of Josh Sobel. Where's it? Doug Milner. We're going to see. Oh, it looks like Robert Dudley gets into Sobel. Maybe the 6 gets involved. The 62 of Ulrich gets involved. Maybe. It's tough to see if there was contact there, but certainly not what the 30 truck wanted to see as he had just come down pit road.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one, and we see them just coming into picture right there, and you see just that contact. You see the 6 scooting around, and there's that contact with the 62 just getting into the number 30 of Sobel, and that's a tough break for Sobel, who's been absolutely on a tear as of late in the series, doing some fantastic work. Now, once again, split takers on pit road. Matt Cherry, Doug Neal, TJ Buck, Peter Serto, and a couple of others coming down. Meanwhile, Freeman, Gracias, Heilig, Scott, Lorello, all electing to stay out. Remember, Lorello came down under the last caution. So going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. I believe Monty Glover here, before we step away just briefly, we will say Monty Glover going to pick up the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award. So give that to Monty Glover. But folks, we're going to step away here for just a brief moment, play a quick commercial, and we'll be right back.
Final time. It'll be the 29 of Healing leading him down into turn number 4. But look at him, bobbing back and forth. The gain of Michael Mooney. All the 29's going to go up the speedway. He's going to make contact with Milner. Milner going to slam the inside wall. Michael Mooney now will drag race the 8 of Garcia. Oh, they make contact. Mooney's going to win here tonight at Daytona.
All right, folks, welcome back to North Wilkesboro, and of course that commercial there highlighting the NSRA Super Speedway Series. And Drew, you're just mentioning that you will probably take part in some of those races, and we're kind of talking about how those Super Speedway races, you jump in them, you just have fun with them.
Absolutely. I don't particularly love the way the Cup car drives on a lot of tracks, but they're a heck of a lot of fun on the Super Speedways. So I'm really looking forward to getting in, and when the schedule allows, mixing it up with these guys, because they put on a heck of a show, and I'm excited to be a part of that. And we'll see. They're about to put on a heck of a show with this mix of strategies. I think this is what James Lorello and Chris Darling and those guys who pitted a little earlier. I think this is what they really wanted to see, because now they don't have the entire field between them and our leader, that 94 truck, last week's winner, Jason Freeman. They're right there as he leads them back to the green flag. Great restart by that 94 truck as the two Jasons are 1-2 right now. Jason Freeman, Jason Gracias, and now James Lorello will be P3 as he gets by Ray Heilig. And then we'll see how much of a difference are these tires going to make, because they are right there behind that 3/98 truck. A little bit different on timing and scoring than it was explained for the viewers back back watching on the YouTube, so to speak. The 30 truck, the 50 truck got kind of further back in the pack, as you can see how really dense that the traffic can be here at North Wilkesboro because of those multiple lanes that we spoke to earlier, Peter.
Yeah, and 3 wide. Looks like the 77 of Doug Neal got a little bit of a hip check there from the 26 of JT Poole. Watched him up the racetrack, and he had, I think, the 48 of Matt Cherry to his outside. So Neal there getting stuck in the middle in that Simbox Trucks. And, of course, the Simbox, the series sponsor of the Simbox Truck Series. Doug Neal makes wonderful button boxes for a spectacular price. If you run iRacing, and really if you run any game, any type of simulation game, flight simulator or racing games, and you need more buttons, because who doesn't need more buttons, go check out Simbox on Facebook. There's a link in the description of the video. Great quality product, and great to see them represented out there on the racetrack, as well as the 2020-2021 Simbox Truck Series sponsor here in the National Sim Racing Association. We're watching this great battle. Josh Sobel had the 7th position. He's battling right now side by side with the 50 of Edwards, but we're 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 here, pretty much all the way from 7th all the way back to about 18th.
That 30 truck unfortunately had that misfortune earlier. Bill Edwards, though, right next to him, kind of been quiet the last few weeks. The 50 truck started 16th here, now up into the top 10, but not kind of the time in the season where you don't want to have been displaying your best paces. The 50 is going to need to find a little bit more, find that form that he had earlier in the season come championship time, because the 50 not quite as fast as we've seen at other tracks this year. But Josh Sobel kind of on the other end of that, right? Has only been improving as time's gone on. But Peter, another caution. Matt Cherry, it looks like a fairly big one here at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, this looks like a big one. Looks like the 84 machine involved as well of TJ Buck. We'll go back. I saw this happen kind of out of the corner of my eye. And Matt Cherry coming out of turn number 2. Looks like he just got loose down into Ben Mashburn, who unfortunately that beautiful paint scheme doesn't look too beautiful anymore. Gets a good chunk of it. You see some other drivers sneaking through, including the number 5 of Ben Adams, I should say, because Mitchell Adams there in the 49 machine wrapped up in it. That was a very unfortunate spot on the racetrack. It seemed like a lot of trucks kind of had nowhere to go. We'll roll the tape here with the number 5 machine. We'll go on board with Ben Adams here, because Adams, of course, one of those drivers who needs a decent finish. Doesn't have to have the strongest finish in the world, but he does need to have a good finish. And watch this all happen and unfold in front of him here, Drew. He gets into the back there of Mitchell Adams, but was able to kind of slow down for the remainder of it. But unfortunately not too lucky for a couple of the other drivers.
Yeah, it's certainly not what the 5 wanted to see. It's a really cool scheme, the kind of neon red, silver, and black, but that front end is looking pretty rough. I think he's probably pretty fortunate that these trucks don't have the new damage model, because I think that front end would be pretty torn up. Just looking at the replay again, you see the 48 just lose it, and then there's just nowhere for these guys to go, really, right? You're right up on the tailgate of the truck in front of you, and you're slowing down as soon as you can kind of see that something's happening, but there's just really not enough time for like normal human non-Terminator people to just, recognize that situation and react to it. And it's kind of what you're seeing here, right? The 44 truck involved, that 84 truck involved, the 5 involved, just because there's nowhere to go, and there's really no reasonable expectation for these guys to be able to avoid that. But this is what those other drivers really wanted to see, right? Guys outside of that top 10, guys like Andrew Himmelman, Robert Dudley, has had his misfortunes in the race, and I don't think Justin White is entered. Unfortunately, he is not, so he will not be able to contest that. But this is what Andrew Himmelman wanted to see, right? This is what that Ford truck needed, a little bit of misfortune by Ben Adams, and then we'll see. I know those two are close, obviously in real life, but and you don't typically, those that you care about, you don't want their misfortune to benefit you. But this is what he needs to get up there in that championship, Peter.
Yeah, of course, Ben Adams, the stepfather of Andrew Himmelman. So they're definitely very close, like you said, and also very close in points. Now, here's the thing, Drew. This caution flag has gone by very, very quickly as the pace car lights have been extinguished as we close in on the 25% race distance here, closing in on lap number 50. Hopefully we can get a little bit of a green flag run in. James Lorella was able to cycle to the race lead because a couple of the other drivers who had yet to pit, including Bill Edwards, Ray Heilig, amongst others, including Jason Gracias and Jason Freeman. They all just came down pit road. But here comes the pace car down pit road, and the green flag going to be back in the air. Going to go to lap number 48 as the cars go across the start-finish line. And Lorello going to get clear of Chris Darling to his outside off into turn number 1. And Darling, we mentioned it at the top of the show, very, very fast at Richmond. Here, very fast again here tonight on another short track. So I think that's really Darling's forte. We saw him pick up the win at Talladega around the quarter distance of the 2020-2021 Simbox Truck Series schedule, but it's been quite a while since we last saw Darling in victory lane.
He has been, and I think that, Talladega, the race that he won, darn near backwards across the start-finish line, wasn't his best race of the season. It wasn't the race that he's had the most pace in. Those several races, quite frankly, where I think he's had the best truck. He just has, either made mistakes or had stuff happen around him that has kind of cost him a chance to compete for that race win. So I think that 47, he knows that he has the pace, and he knows what he needs to do to win. It's just kind of up to him to put it all together, which I definitely think he's obviously capable of doing. It's just kind of, get out of your head, sometimes, right? Like knowing I don't have to push this on pit road. I don't need to make this mistake. I don't have to put myself in a situation that's going to cost me this race because I got it. And sometimes it can be kind of hard not to put that pressure on yourself that kind of, can ultimately cost yourself a chance of victory because you want it so badly, and you realize that you might have given one away or two. But we got a little context here. Sorry, Peter. I was just looking at the 94 and the 77 getting together. Little sparks flying there. Jason Freeman getting into Doug Neal there that last time by. I think that 94 really wants to get back up there and battle up there with James Zorello. Obviously, the 94 pulled something that we don't see very often, a debut winner. Last week, he had an outstanding race managing fuel, managing his equipment, and snagged that victory. But man, is he throwing that truck into the corner, almost tags the 77 and the 971 in the same corner. That 94 is flying, Peter.
Yeah, that 971 there catching the wall. Man, wow, that, like you said, that 94 all over the back bumper of Doug Neal. Hopefully those two can keep it together. But Drew, I'm going to mention one thing. And this is something you don't often see at these types of racetracks. But have you noticed where the sun is on the horizon as a caution flag comes out, which won't help my situation very much, because I was going to mention that it seems like the sun is setting here around the racetrack, but we're going to have to figure out exactly what brought out this caution flag and see if we can sort it all out. I think we have. And it looks like it's back around the number 5 of Adams, and a couple of the trucks involved in the last caution here getting into it again. And that's Adams in the number 5, Ben Adams, that is getting turned around off the nose of the 24 of Mashburn. We'll get one more look of this one as they went off into turn number 1 down the front stretch. 24 to the inside, and you can even see the 24 of Mashburn. Looked like he locked up the left front there just a little bit, Drew, and just couldn't keep it off the number 5. We'll get kind of one more look at this one, and you'll be able to see. Let's go in slow motion. Watch the left front, Drew, of that number 24 machine. Looks like he's just trying to lock it up, trying to keep it off the 5, just unable to quite do so. And unfortunately for the 5, that's once again some pretty significant damage.
Yeah, I mean, I had something similar happen to me at Indianapolis in my own league going into turn 4, where you just kind of, you think you have the pace on the guy in front of you, you kind of just send it underneath, and as soon as you commit to the corner, you're like, oh, I don't have this. And I played the part of Mashburn in that incident where I locked up my left front, clobbered the driver in the left rear, and sent him around. Luckily, in that situation, there was no damage. Unfortunately, I think for that 5 truck, that is not the case. He's going to have a little bit of damage. One thing I did pick up in that situation is Andrew Himmelman is 19th running behind his stepfather, that 5. truck of Ben Adams. And while that 5 getting a little bit of damage fixed, the 4 is not looking too healthy herself, as that 4 truck has got a lot of work to do. Got some front end damage on it, and Drew Himmelman's got quite a bit of work to do to get up there and take advantage of the misfortune that the 5 trucks had. Is that 4 is now coming down pit road, probably to get some of that damage fixed.
Yeah, and let's bring up the points picture coming into tonight once again. You see Himmelman, Dudley, and White. White, like you mentioned, not in the field here tonight, so he is out of the picture. So it really brings us down to Adams, Himmelman, and Dudley. Jeffrey Johnson Jr., Colin O'Leary, basically by those drivers starting here tonight, they have enough of a cushion on Ben Adams that they are perfectly fine. They are now locked in. It's now just down to Adams, Himmelman, and Dudley, those 3 drivers. And with the way that Dudley and Himmelman, have both been running, they've both been running around the 15th position. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to close in enough points on Ben Adams. So Adams, he's been involved in both of the last 2 cautions, but all things considered, might be in a pretty decent position to go into the Simbox Truck Series Chase. But let's jump back up to the front of the field. We had a couple takers on pit road, but none of the takers up at the front. James Zorello about to get us back to green flag, Drew.
Sure, that 9 truck leading the field to the green flag here on now lap 61, as this race, despite quite a few cautions, I think maybe a little more than I was anticipating, not too big a deal at the short tracks though. Lap 61 already, James Sorello leading the field with Chris Darling, who hasn't really seemed to have the measure of that 9 truck thus far, getting a little bit more pace this run, having a better restart, looking to put some pressure on James Sorello, who is definitely not one to be pressured into a mistake with that 47 all over the tailgate of that 9 truck, especially going into 3. They're pulling it a little bit low. We haven't really had enough green flag running to know if that bottom lane's going to really scrub that right front like it tends to do here at North Wilkesboro, especially with the tight set like these guys look like they're battling, as that 9 truck able to put about a truck length between himself and Chris Darling through that last run through 1 and 2. I really just think that high lane, about a lane up, right? Just with your left sides really basically on or just below that first kind of bottom dash line. I think that's where most of the speed's going to be tonight. As you see, that's, the 9 truck just kind of straddling that through 3 and 4 there. I would like to see him enter a little bit higher, exit a little bit lower. That's my personal run here. I mean, who am I to criticize James Morello, right? I mean, he's won darn near everything there is to win this year. But I think that's maybe not quite exactly what he probably wants to be doing with that 9 truck, as these corners really don't open up a lot, right? The exit, I think, of North Wilkesboro comes up on you a little bit quicker than you're expecting. And it's not truly symmetrical either. Bristol's kind of the same way, right? It really appears to be symmetrical on paper, but as a driver, there's really a significant difference between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 at both of these tracks, at both of those tracks. But North Wilkesboro, right? You have that incline and decline I can't quite remember on the front and back stretch. I think the front stretch is an incline, the back stretch is a decline, right? So even the entry feels a little bit different. And it can be a real challenge for these drivers just to be really consistent, because they so visually similar here.
Yeah, you can actually see how the track slopes away. We're looking at the exit of turn number 4 here, as you saw a couple of trucks pancake the turn 4 wall. And you can see that going down off into turn number 1, you're going downhill, and then when you're headed up into turn number 3, you're actually coming uphill. So the truck does drive a little bit differently due to that effect, just due to gravity helping you going off into turn number 1 and gravity working against you going up into turn number 3. So definitely an interesting racetrack, very unique. There's no other racetrack quite like it. We'll check in on our Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award winner. That is Doug Neal. There he is, getting around the number 6, or trying to get around the number 6 there of Doug Milliner. Contact there between Jason Gracias and Ray Heilig. Very similar to what we saw just a couple laps ago with Mashburn and the number 5 of Adams. We'll go back and get another look at this one. We go back a lap here, working their way through turn number 3 and 4 here. But look at Gracias. He gets a good run coming out of turn number 4 to the outside. And, man, looks like the 7 of Heilig just pushed it in a little bit too far. Had to try and not run into the back of the 77, and unfortunately gives a little bit of a hip check to Jason Gracias. And we'll go back live. There is Ray Heilig. Heilig now has fallen back and through. I'm going to go back and just make sure there wasn't any type of, more bumping and banging, because Ray Heilig there looks like he lost a decent amount of track position himself. Not sure if he got up out of the groove. And I'll tell you what, short track action. Look what Jason Gracias thought about that one. You know what, Ray? I didn't take too kind to that. Just pushes him up out of the way and up out of the groove. That short track action.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the Old West justice system, right? You wrong me, I'll wrong you right back, and that's exactly what happened between the 7 and the 98. I mean, the 7 certainly was the offender in that situation during that first incident between those two drivers, and then the 98 let him know that, no, not doing that to me, no, sir. And made sure that 7 knew that mess. That's what he thought about that incident. A really good job, quite frankly, of Heilig to not lose that truck, as that 98 basically drove straight through him. But right, I mean, we got some contact further back. It's the 13 truck there, Peter. If you can catch that, I don't think there's a caution. I think the 13 and the 50 got into each other there, as we'll queue up that replay for you. I believe that was through 1 and 2. I just saw it in the background. Yeah, here we go. Coming down the front stretch, going into 1 and 2. Oh, the 5 gets into him. The 5, the 13 get together, and man, that 5 is not having the night that he would want, especially giving his championship, insecurities, Peter.
Yeah, we'll get one more look at this one as they raced off into turn number 1. You see Heilig getting all up out of shape, but then that number 1 machine just goes down, and there's the bang up into the outside wall, and Scheffler able to get things corralled and pointed back in the right direction, but definitely not going to be the night that he wanted. Back up at the front, James Arello has checked out. He's up to a 1.75 second lead over the number 47 of Chris Darling. Both of those trucks pitted near on 60 laps ago, so you would think here, Drew, that at some point relatively soon we might see a couple of these trucks on pit road. Meanwhile, back behind them, how about this battle which is brewing for second? That's the 26 of JT Poole and that Jamie McMurray inspired throwback scheme. Of course, it is a throwback race here at North Wilkesboro, as well as last week's race winner there from Kentucky, the number 94 of Freeman, who has the least number of laps on his tires, starting to make some noise up in fourth.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, doing an excellent job there, man. I gotta say that 26, I believe that's from the 2013 Talladega paint scheme from McMurray's win at Talladega, which is awesome as a former McMurray fan now that he's not driving. Really cool to see that scheme being run again. I didn't get to see that win, unfortunately, due to situations in life. But the 47 truck just about mossed it out of 2 there. Real loose for Chris Darling there, Peter. Almost got into the 94 truck. That is not what that 47 wants to see. He is really sliding back now.
Yeah, he's on those 60-lap-old tires now, racing with Josh Sobel. And Sobel's tires are also 60-plus laps old himself. So maybe Darling just used a little bit too much tire trying to get around the number 9 of Lorello early in this run. There goes Doug Neal, your Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award winner, to get himself back up into the top 5. Good recovery for that number 77 machine after he was put 3 wide, lost a bunch of track position a little while ago. And here is the number 98 machine. That's Jason Gracias trying to get underneath the number 6 of Doug Milliner. And that number 98 machine is number 3 on the scoring pile, and number 98 emblazoned on the side of that truck. But here comes that number 9. Remember, he was involved in that contact there with the 7 truck, so he's having a good job of working his way up towards the front once again.
Sobel doing a really good job here tonight. Again, like just done such a good job of really finding what he needs to do in the second half of this season to be successful driving these trucks. Really great job. Kind of a new look. I know we saw it last week, but kind of a new scheme here for that 30 truck, especially going into those playoffs. You know, maybe you're not running quite where you want to be, and we saw when he threw that new scheme, that winter scheme, at 20 Ring Motegi, we kind of saw a new Josh, and so he's trying to carry that on as the 7 truck of Ray Heilig running in 12th position now has basically, it seems like the rest of the field behind him at this point, about 6, 7, 8 cars, or trucks rather, behind him, who are, basically looks almost like a Truly train, to speak to F1 terms, back when Jarno Trulli would hold up the entire field behind him and wouldn't let him by. That's maybe not what's happening here, but it certainly has that appearance of that is Ben Adams, Peter Serto, that 28 truck of Jamar Dumas, various other drivers, including Bill Edwards, who's been so quick at various tracks this year, all behind that 7 truck, who has had his drama certainly, as that exchange between he and that 98 of Jason Rossi was earlier. As though the 32 gets way up the track. I think he avoids the wall there, but that is certainly going to cost him several positions. Is now the 50 Bill Edwards looking to complete that pass as well. And we'll cue that replay up for you, folks. I think you'll just see Serto just kind of lose it just a little bit. Yeah, just drives it in a little too hard, loses that nose of that 32 truck, and comes about as close as you can come to hitting the wall without actually hitting the wall there, Peter.
Yeah, able to, like you said, keep it off the wall and live to fight another day. He is going to fall back to 16th in the Jansen number 32 machine. Now under fire from the 17th place, number 33 of Jeffrey Johnson Jr., who's trying to work his way. He locked himself into the Simbox Truck Series Chase by starting the race in that New Edge Auto Detailing Ford F-150. You see him right there on the right-hand side of your screen. Now getting underneath Peter Serto. Fantastic job this season. We go a couple of trucks up in front of him. That is a 28 of Dumas trying to get underneath Ray Heilig. And Drew, we missed this, but Dumas was, of course, went a lap down when he went down pit road earlier in the race to bring out what I think was our second caution flag of the night. But he was able to pick up that Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award, and he's now marching his way back towards the top 10. He is quite a bit behind the 11th place number 15 machine of Robert Dudley, who just lost that spot to the reigning Simbox Truck Series champion, the number 49 machine of Mitchell Adams. Here as we close in on the halfway mark, Adams now back inside the top 10. He's had his woes here tonight, being involved in that big pileup we had on the backstretch. But meanwhile, back up towards the front of the field, it is still James Sorello, but we are wondering when will we see that number 9 machine on pit road, as it has been now about 76 laps since he saw his pit crew.
And how is this going to affect his long-term race strategy? This is starting to have one of those longer green run feels. Now, anything can happen at a fairly quick notice here on one of these short tracks, right? There's really no spinning off track, not causing a caution. If there's an incident, probably going to bring out a yellow. But this is certainly the closest that this field has come to producing a longer green run. And I say that commentator's curse, Peter. I can't a better example.
Caution flag is now waving. We'll have to figure out where that caution flag did come out. I think it happened on the front stretch. Might have involved the number 6 Viagra F-150 of Doug Milliner. We'll see if we can dial up this one for that number 6 machine coming out of turn number 4. Breaks loose, too much beans, and unfortunately that's the inside wall for that Viagra truck, and just able to keep it off the wall for a second time there, but a little bit of a self-spin bringing out the caution flag right here before the halfway mark. But Drew, one thing I will know is that everyone will be coming down pit road.
Certainly they will, and I believe that there will still be one more stop, but this is really what James Earl wanted to see. I think had this been another 10 laps, I think this really would have hurt this 9 truck. But he did do, as Doug Neal missed his pit box, and I had to back up a little bit, which is going to cost him some time. James Arello, I don't think there were tires taken by that 9 truck, Peter, do you?
I'm looking at his pit time in that number 9 truck, and it was a 14.6, so that would indicate that 14.6 second stop would indicate to me at least that he took tires on that truck. So not sure if we saw both sides of the car, be jacked up into the air, but possibly just an iRacing graphical glitch or something of the sort. But it does seem, at least time-wise, that he did come down and take on tires on that truck. We have seen the 33 of Jeffrey Johnson Jr. However, he has stayed out in his truck, and it does look like he might be the leader when we go back green here shortly. Now, I'm trying to figure out who the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner under this caution might be. I thought it was going to be the number 44 machine of Philip Scott, but doesn't look like it was him. It might have been the 5 of Ben Adams. Yes, it was the 5 of Ben Adams. So you're looking right now at a driver who needed to get back onto the lead lap. That's the man who currently sits 10th place in points coming into tonight, Ben Adams. He'll come to his pit crew. All that damage on that truck. Hopefully he can get some more of that damage repaired. But Drew, we're going to take a brief moment away, have a quick commercial. We'll be right back for the second half of tonight's race.
Final time. It'll be the 29 of Healing leading him down into turn number 4. But look at him, bobbing back and forth. The 88 of Michael Mooney. All the 29's going to go up the speedway. He's going to make contact with Milner. Milner going to slam the inside wall. Michael Mooney now will drag race the 8 of Garcia. Oh, they make contact. Mooney's going to win here tonight at Daytona.
All right, folks. We are back live here at North Wilkesboro Speedway, and the number 9 of James Lorello is out front. You didn't miss anything. We did do a little bit of a Fox. I do apologize. Fox has a tendency to miss green flags. Well, now we have missed one here, but that's the only one we've missed all season long. How about that? That is a pretty good track record. Meanwhile, that number 9 continues to lead now a little bit further back. The 971 Nathan Maurer and the 30 of Josh Sobel going at it. We did see the number 33 machine Jeffrey Johnson Jr. finally did come down pit road in his truck. So he came down, got 4 fresh tires, and filled it up with fuel here for the second half of the race, Drew.
Yeah, certainly. It's what this 30 and this 9 really needed was that caution. I think that they were really on the edge of having to pit. So it kind of gives them a little bit of a reset. Another driver it's given a reset to is our second place runner right now, that 26 truck of JT Poole. Really starting to put pressure here on James Lorello. As Lorello been a little inconsistent with his line the last few times here, Peter. Now looking at, I believe, Ray Heilig getting really, really loose at a turn 4. But we got some racing for the lead up here as JT Poole all over the back bumper of that 9, kind of doing what I like to do here at North Wilkesboro. Enter high, exit low, do a little bit of that kind of late apex situation that you would like to do at Richmond, a track that we compare North Wilkesboro to, if one can be compared to North Wilkesboro. I think it would be the track in Richmond, Virginia. That 26 truck, though, I think this is about as close as we've come to seeing a truck compete with James Lorello, but huge championship implications here is the 4 truck of Andrew Himmelman on pit road. Doesn't look great for that 4 truck. He was probably the guy that was in the best position coming into tonight to challenge for one of those top 10 spots, being outside of the top 10. That seems unlikely at this point, as he is losing several laps now, having been 2 laps down before this pit stop. As once again, Peter, another caution here on lap 109.
Another caution flag has come out. Well, again, figure out exactly what all went down with this one. This almost looks like it was a bit of an accordion that all went down in turn number 1. This is going to be an interesting one to break down here, Drew. On board with Matt Vanderkoy, and it all happened in front of him. There's Dumas and some real argy-bargy going on. It seemed like Vanderkoy had to just get on the binders to get things woed up. But let's see if we can check out what happened to that number 28 Texaco Haviland machine. Here he is. got the number 15 of Dudley, and oh, there's the contact. Dudley and Dumas getting together. Oh, Bill Edwards getting a piece of it, and then the 42 there just kind of splitting up the middle. That's Barry Knapp. Haven't really mentioned his name here today, but really there was no place for Barry to go.
We talked about the big one at the super speedways that we're going to be visiting as we've seen during our breaks on Wednesdays here at NSRA. There's been kind of a couple quasi big ones here in North Wilkesboro, including this one. As once that 15 truck got tagged, not a lot of room or space or time for the drivers around them to react to that. And guys like Bill Edwards, Ray Heilig, Peter Sergio, maybe not as much, but the 42 truck certainly, Barry Knapp, all getting a piece of that. And I mean, that's 5 trucks in a wreck here, probably the second 5 truck plus wreck that we've had tonight. Some kind of mini big ones here, Peter, on a mini track at North Wilkesboro.
Oh yeah, that is for sure, and we have seen a lot of trucks damaged, and that's what Andrew Himmelman was doing. We'll check in with him, still sitting in his pit box, now being scored 15 laps down. That is not what you want to see at all. Monty Glover in the number 10 machine. He, I believe he just picked up the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award, but bad news for him. He just got caught by the stop sign at the end of pit road, so if he did get back on the lead lap, bad news. It wasn't for too long, because now he's back 1 lap down in that number 10 truck. I know that's caught me out before, Drew, especially on a short track like this, where you can go, if you don't catch up to the pace car to come back down pit road, you can just end up right back down a lap again. And you're like, well, we'll try again next time, I guess.
Yes, especially if you're getting any damage fixed, like I imagine that truck is. It can, if you're just, waiting for that kind of timer to count down to 0, it can cost you that, as we have a bunch more trucks who I don't know made it off pit road. I think that 4 might have been just behind the pace car. We'll see, I guess. We will see if they stay in front. But a guy certainly who is in front of our field, James Lorello, said that so many times this year, and a little bit of chaos tonight. Maybe not the worst case scenario of North Wilkesboro. Certainly not the worst case scenario. But doesn't matter what track it is. James Lorello will lead them to the green, as he is here now. Great restart by that 9 truck, the 94. A little bit of wheel spin behind him. JT Poole, though, has been one of the few drivers that seems to have been able to challenge him, as we got a quick caution here, Peter.
Yeah, caution flag once again back in the air. We'll see what happened with this one a little bit further back in the pack. And again, it seems like we've had a couple of these here tonight where it's been very, very quick cautions, and this one unfortunately appears to have been one driver who was trying to catch up to the back of the field. So this was, I believe, about the time the green flag dropped. The 28 machine of Dumas trying to catch up to the back of the field, just unable to do so. Just loops it coming around out of turn number 4. We saw that happen not all too long ago with Doug Milliner, but this time catching out Jamar Dumas, and the caution flag is going to wave once more. Well, folks, we're going to take a brief step away. We're going to be able to play the full commercial this time. We'll reset the field for you here in just a little bit here on 3YTV. Don't go anywhere.
Final time. Going to be the 29 of Healing, leading them down into turn number 4. But look at him, bobbing back and forth to gain of Michael Mooney. All the 29's going to go up the speedway. He's going to make contact with Milner. Milner going to slam the inside wall. Michael Mooney now will drag race the 8 of Garcia. Oh, they make contact. Mooney's going to win here tonight at Daytona.
All right, folks, welcome back here to North Wilkesboro. You're looking at the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner under this caution flag. The number 13 of Jordan Scheffler will be back to 17 trucks on the lead lap. Ben Adams currently is scored the first truck 1 lap down in 18th. But, Drew, pretty much, I would say reset the field for the folks back at home, but it's basically been reset now for quite some time with Lorello closing in on leading 100 laps tonight.
Yeah, another impressive performance by that 9 truck. It really is incredible to see a driver be as versatile as James has been. I think the only place that he hasn't probably been, if not the quickest driver, the guy that certainly can compete for the win. And I'm talking about tracks that are pace tracks. Like, I'm not talking the super speedways. Probably Watkins Glen, and even then he was quick. He just wasn't quite up there. But I mean, I think at every other track, he has been a guy that has had race-winning pace, as far as non-super speedway tracks are concerned. I mean, an absolutely incredible job thus far. But this is the last round of this regular season, and quite frankly, what James has accomplished so far doesn't mean a whole lot, as he leads the field to the green here at North Wilkesboro, lap 120 to 121 now. That 9 truck, a great restart, clears the 26 JT Pool, but JT has shown some really, really good short run pace. We'll see if he can do anything with James Zarello on this run, as he maybe takes a little bit of a look on the inside. But now looking back towards the back of the pack, we see another pit road mistake by Chris Darling here, Peter.
Yeah, I'm just keeping my eye on Chris Darling back there. He pitted under this last caution, so he was one of the few drivers who did elect to come down. He's only got a few laps now on his tires under green flag conditions. He's got about 20 lap fresher tires, as he gives a little bit of a nudge, a little love tap there to the back of Jason Gracias in the number 98 Napa Auto Parts Chevy Silverado. But he does have fresher tires, so maybe that can work to his advantage. But right now, the only thing going against him is the fact that he's currently being scored well down the order, down in the 12th position, battling right there with Matt Vanderkoy for that 11th position. He's going to get around him for that spot, it does appear. So he just has a lot of work to do, but it might work out for him because, we're starting to get into that window where we think that we'll be able to go all the way from here on fuel. So just if we go caution-free, that is a big if, with the way the caution flag has been flying here tonight around North Wilkesboro Speedway. This man could be in the catbird seat. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, certainly. That 47 always scares me when it comes down pit road. I know I'm being a little harsh on Chris. Chris told me to be a little harsh on him post-race, last race. So we'll see. Yeah, it's certainly a strategy. I don't think that Chris maybe had the pace that I was thinking that he would have. Oh, there's some contact there in front of him between the 90 and the 15, but another caution here, Peter. Yeah,
caution flag is out, so that goes out the window. That statement I was saying there, Drew, of possibly going caution free. That's what the commentator's curse is all about, isn't it? Going off into turn number 3, here's Peter Serto, the number 32 and the 60, Matt Vanderkoy, and looks like that might have been a little bit of net code. Oh, man, Jeffrey Johnson Jr. there coming in a little bit late. Luckily, doesn't look like a whole lot of damage on those trucks. Let's see if we can possibly look at this one from our turn 3 entry cam. And see if we can slow this one down because I don't know if there was going to be a little bit of contact, but there's the two trucks you can kind of see the contact that was made between them, and there goes the number 60 machine going around off the nose. Let's see if we can get another look at that, possibly from the number 32 machine's nose, and just see if there was any contact. As we see there they are. Might have been net code, and hey, that's gonna be a tight one, but definitely close enough that iRacing said they had it coming together, and unfortunately Matt Vanderkoy goes around and brings out another caution flag here tonight. So we're going to see how many drivers elect to come down pit road now. We did have some. Mitchell Adams, Doug Neal, Nathan Maurer all electing to come down, and surprisingly, this is a kind of a confusing one here, Drew, is Chris Darling. He must have thought he was far enough back in the pack to come back down pit road because he pitted under this caution flag. We'll bring up at the top of the screen the laps since the last time on pit road. And you will see Chris Darling has just about 2 laps to his name when his name comes up at the top of the screen. So an interesting one that Darling elected to come back down pit road and give up any track position he might have gained.
I don't think if I were the crew chief of that 47 truck that I would have been calling him down pit road the last time by. I think he was probably on the edge of making it, and had we gotten another caution or two, I think he would have been in a pretty good spot about not having really old tires, but having enough. And so interesting strategy call. Interesting that you mentioned that Mitchell Adams was one of the guys that pitted. We haven't seen a lot from that 49 truck tonight. Been one of the quieter nights for last year's champion. A little bit of damage on the right front on the tailgate of that 49 truck. Yeah, but I mean, a top 10 isn't to scoff at, but just a little bit further back than we typically expect from him. But the 5 truck, Ben Adams, the guy who coming in was right on the edge, our Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner. But back up front, James Thorello bringing the field back to the green flag. Another great restart by him. And he is leading that 26 truck. Once again, of JT Poole. JT maintained that second position over these last few restarts, Peter.
Yeah, JT's been having a stellar night in that number 26 truck. There you see him just ducking to the inside of the number 9 machine, but we watch this side-by-side battle from last week's race winner, who's 1 for 1. That's Jason Freeman in that number 94 Mason-Dixon Cornhole Chevrolet. Ooh, there was a little bit of smoke there on the backstretch. That looks like the number 13 machine of Jordan Shepard might have had it going around there in the Essential Water truck. We'll see if we can possibly get a quick look and see what happened to him just about a lap or two ago. Let's see if we can rewind the tape. You know how that goes, folks. Sometimes it happens very good, but here he is coming out of the corner. Just seems like all by himself. We've seen that a couple times here tonight. Meanwhile, we'll go back up to the Freeman Sobel battle. We'll go live. Freeman has been able to take that 3rd position, so Sobel back there. But look at this, JT Poole. He's got a good run on your race leader, hitting those bumps a little bit hard down there on the inside, trying to get the front end to hook up. Not quite able to make the pass just yet, but he's still got that nose to the inside.
Yeah, 26 is going to have to be a little more greedy, trying to keep some of that banking in that middle groove on corner entry. I like that line right there. Right, keep those right sides on that dash line and get that drive off. I think he's going to lead the lap, but he got sideways coming out of turn 4. But yeah, JT, he's just going to have to be a little bit more greedy, right? Give that 9 a little less room. I know that everybody respects James Arello, but you're not going to beat him by being nice. You got to kind of take what you think you should have. And the 26 just running a little too low to carry the momentum. You see how great that 9 hooks up off the corner, just taking that the more banked line rounds turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. As I think the 26, I think the 9 could take it if he wants to. Will the 26 throw his nose back under that 9 truck through 3 and 4? He does. Then you see how bumpy that bottom line is. But JT did a really good job rolling 3 and 4 right there. 1 and 2 seems to be a little bit more friendly to that high lane. Is JT, yeah, got a little bit tight there. The 9 is clear, and he does. He shuts the door on JT in 3 and 4, ensuring that he can't make another move. But a little bit of a battle there, the most that we've seen James Arello challenge, Peter.
Yeah, and I was, out of the corner of my eye, I saw Jason Gracias, I think, get into the back of the number 32 of Peter Serto, but here comes a 26 again. We'll table that for now because Poole got a good run coming out of turn number 2. This is as strong as we've seen anyone race with the number 9 machine all night long. Lorello has now led 97 laps of the 140 that we have put in the books, closing in on locking up the most laps led. I should say he has locked up the most laps led. No one can pass him, with Doug Neal leading 28 and Jason Freeman leading 13. So that number 9, once again, the class of the field here in the Simbox Truck Series. He was able to pick up a championship here in the National Sim Racing Association earlier this week, winning the Wednesday night series That man is on a tear over here with these drivers, trying to hold off JT Poole for picking up what could be his 6th Simbox Truck Series victory. And Drew, if it wasn't for one lap last week at Kentucky, he would have already had 6. He ran out of fuel on the last laps, not to spoil that finish all too much, but it was a stunner right here on 3Y TV. Make sure you go back and watch that one on replay if you missed it, because that is as good of a call as you're going to get here on the channel. But for now, single file up towards the front. One driver we're keeping our eyes on, though, is this man right here. That's the 47 of Darling. And Drew, we were talking about him just a little while ago, about him coming back down pit road. He's now running in 7th, trying to pick up 6th position here from the number 13 of Peter Serto.
Yeah, Chris just not quite nailed the strategy tonight. Tried some other strategies relative to our leader, some alternatives. But yeah, I think 7th is a little now challenging for 6th. A little bit further back than I think he thought his pace would be tonight. I think 3rd, 4th position at the very least is where I was expecting this 47 truck. But he does get by Peter Serto here for 6th, and it certainly isn't over. He does have fresher tires than those guys in front of him, and he's been able to make his way past guys like Mitchell Adams and the like behind him, who have been exceptionally quick this year. Guys like Nathan Maurer as well, right? Guys that we've seen up front quite a few times this year and now are racing side by side behind Chris Darling as Mitchell Adams, once again, not having a bad night by any means, as he got incredibly sideways on the exit of 1 and 2 there. Peter, really good job by Mitchell, but yeah, he's just not quite having the night that we normally see from that 49 truck.
Yeah, we'll go back and watch this one on replay. How about looking at it from on board? You see all that wheel cranked in the truck. It gets a little bit loose. He's able to throw some counter steer in it, but not without losing quite a few spots. He lost spot to Nathan Maurer. There goes Ray Heilig, tried to take a peek around the outside of him. Now we're back live as Maurer goes to work on Peter Serto, move Maurer up a position. But now what we're going to see here, Drew, and I'm going to bring up lap times up at the top of the screen. Now we need to start looking, what is the relative pace difference between Chris Darling, who's running there in 6th, and the vehicle in front of him? That's Jason Gracias in the number 98 truck. You see, last time by, Darling was about 0.2 of a second faster than Gracias, and he is closing that gap. 0.2 of a second here on a short track is a pretty significant margin, as up in front of him, looks like Jason Gracias locked up in his own battle with Joshua Sobel.
Yeah, and Chris Darling was about 1.7 17 hundredths quicker than our race leader that last time by. He went from about 2.3 seconds behind to 2 seconds in about 2.5, 3 laps here. So Chris Darling not only quicker than the guys in front of him, maybe not, actually not the last time he lost, just a little bit of time, but he was dealing with some lap traffic, but a little bit quicker than our leader lap after lap. So it'll be interesting to see. There's enough time, only 2 seconds back, for Chris Darling to maybe get up there and really challenge him. I mean, he can see James Zarello up there, and not too distant in front of him, especially if guys like Jason Gracias and Josh Sobel race side by side. That's going to allow him to catch them even more, as once again Chris Darling, at least of the top 6 trucks, the fastest truck that last time by.
Yeah, we'll see what it is like this time at the line. Gracias running a 19.732. Darling, look at that, 2.5 of a second, and that gap has been all but erased between Gracias and Darling. This will be a battle for the 4th, 5th, and 6th position. Sobel has 4th, and Darling has 6th, with Gracias there splitting them in the 5th position. Great job here by Darling. I know we were kind of writing off his strategy call a little while ago, saying, you know what, why would you come back down pit road? You're down in 13th, but he's gone from 13th, Drew, now all the way up to 6th position, knocking on the door for 5th. And I'm looking at my live timing and scoring. It's been about 24 laps since we went back green flag. So, he's still got plenty of time with 45 laps to go to get up to Lorello and possibly knock on the door for a win tonight.
Yeah, but he has to make quick work out of that 98 and 30 trucks. It's taken him 3 or 4 laps just to get himself in a position to get by that 98 truck, and he's got to do it quicker than that. We do still have 44 laps to go, but it only takes 19.5 seconds to get around this track. And every time that he's not getting by the 98 truck, he's not getting by the 30, it's costing him time for James Zarello. So it sounds like a big number, right? It sounds like 43 laps to go is a long time. And if we were at Watkins Glen, you'd be correct. But we're not. We're at North Wilkesboro, and these laps go by really quickly, and it can be really hard to pass here, even if you are several tenths quicker than the trucks in front of you, like we're seeing from James Zarello. He can't get by Jason Gracias. He's struggling to get just put himself in a position. He's 2/10 a lap quicker than these guys, but it's still so difficult to be able to translate that into an actual passing scenario, especially when those guys are racing side by side like these two trucks are.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, in front of them, looks like Freeman starting to knock on the door for the battle for second. So you can see pretty much both battles here for position. And whoa, how about that? 3 wide coming out of the corner. Chris Darling going to take it to the inside. Man, we were focused on that battle for second, but Darling just took it 3 wide coming out of the corner. He was able to get past Gracias. So like you said, Drew, he knows that the lap count is winding down and winding down very quickly. And he said, you know what? I see an opportunity. He's going to go for it. Meanwhile, Freeman was able to make that pass on JT Poole. So last week's race winner trying to go back-to-back on the podium here tonight.
Yeah, I totally agree, Peter. And Chris just not... He's run a little too low. He's just too low on the track to make that bottom lane work. He really, really has to get his right sides at the very least on that first dashed line. There's just not enough banking, even if you are substantially quicker, to really get by guys unless they make a mistake. That was a bit of a mistake by Josh Sobel right there. Chris Darling, though, he's got to be aggressive. We saw that 3-wide situation, but he's got to be aggressive in the way that he's running his lines, not just the way that he's taking advantage of other people's mistakes. Now, he's able to get by Sobel, and actually he's been able somehow, despite that really intense racing, to close to 1.6 seconds behind James Zarello. But caution, Matt Vanderkoy around, and this changes quite a bit, Peter, as no longer will Chris Darling have that tire advantage necessarily. We'll see. Will these guys pit? Will they stay out? This is a big game changer. We will see what happened to Matt Vanderkoy first, though, running high through 3 and 4. It looks like Dudley gets into him and pops that inside wall, and some strange iRacing physics going on there to make that truck behave that way. But the 60 truck nonetheless comes to a rest on the front stretch, and will bring out a caution. Yeah, the 50 just looks like it gets a little tight into the 60, and 60 pops that wall and then comes to a stop low, and that will be another caution here with just about 35 or 35 laps to go here, Pete.
Yep, and here comes the field coming down pit road, led by Lorello. Freeman there in the number 94 behind him. JT Poole in third. Now the big question is, who is going to win the race off pit road? This could make or break the race for every single driver. Let's keep our eyes on the 47 of Chris Darling. We've seen him have difficulty getting into his pit box. He has done it, Drew. I don't expect to see him back on pit road, and perhaps tonight's the night that Chris Darling actually makes it into his pit box every single time nice and neatly. But you see, wow, couple of different strategies off pit road, and it looks like Jason Gracias in the number 98 is going to win the race. Surely that's 2 tires on that Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet.
I think if you're not James Zarello and you're not Chris Darling, I think Chris had such a good pace that last time, a good rhythm. It's kind of what you got to do, and we're certainly seeing that now. The 98 of Jason Gracias, the 94, the 26, all kind of in front of a guy they haven't been in front of all night, in James Zarello, and we got a race in our hands. 2 tires, going to loosen the truck up, I anticipate, and we'll see how this has an effect on everything. I think as we saw this race develop and more rubber laid down, we saw these guys getting more and more loose off the corners. So that's going to be a risky strategy, but especially if you're a guy like that 98, you're not racing for anything other than a checkered flag, right? Like you're literally here just to win, and he gave himself that opportunity. And another driver that gave himself an opportunity, this time potentially to secure his spot in the championship, Ben Adams, our Brookstone Animal Lucky Dog Award winner here, Peter.
Yeah, once again, I do apologize for a little bit of a hiccup there. Not sure if that on my end or YouTube's, but I think we did have a quick, very brief hiccup there. Do apologize for that here. Had that a couple times here tonight. Not 100% sure why, but hey, it's the internet, things happen. Isn't that right? So pace car lights are still on, and we'll reset the field for you now. Jason Gracias will be your race leader. 2 tires confirmed on that Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet. But we also had a couple of trucks actually beat Lorello off pit road on 4 tires. That includes Freeman, Poole, and I believe even Chris Darling might have. No, excuse me. Chris Darling going to be restarting in 5th, 1 spot behind Lorello. So Freeman and Poole both beat Lorello off pit road with 4 tires. So Lorello going to be the 3rd truck in line on 4. We're going to have to find out how this is all going to go down. You see the 98 with a little bit of wheel spin out the back of that truck, but we're back green. Oh, the 98, oh my goodness, stuck in the wall. And if that doesn't bring out a caution, there's the yellow flag. That didn't work out for Gracias, did it?
I shouldn't. I'm glad I don't have voice activation because sometimes you can't help but laugh at ridiculous things to happen. And that 98 truck losing it, going into the corner and just stopping when he touches the wall. You gotta love iRacing sometimes, folks. I didn't expect that. When the 98 started to lose it, that can happen. We talked about how loose these trucks seem to be getting, and with those 2 tires, what is that thing going to do? And we saw it just lost the rear end going into the corner and then just sticks into that outside wall, instantly stopping. Luckily, this isn't real life because that would have been a very, very serious situation for the driver of that 98 truck. But just, you see immediately, corner entry, the rear end's gone and just stops into the outside wall. Well, Peter, he tried, and we talked about it that quite frankly, if you're the 98, you're here to win the race or not. And he tried and gave it a shot, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, it didn't work out. And watch just how bad the back end of this thing gets whipped around when he just gets stuck in the wall. And luckily for the field, they were able to race on by no problem. On that truck, so that's the good news. Unfortunately for Gracias, like you saw, taking a tow back to pit road. Meanwhile, everything has sorted out. Jason Freeman in the number 94 machine, last week's race winner at Kentucky, trying to go 2 for 2 here tonight on a completely different racetrack. Won the 1.5 miles last week. Now here on the short track, North Wilkesboro up front, 28 laps ago. We haven't seen him up front, but just a handful of laps here tonight. He's now going to come around to lead his 17th lap. I do believe we did have a Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner. I think it went to this man right here, Monty Glover. Not 100% sure, but Monty Glover's been a lap down at some point here tonight, so he has picked up at some point the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award winner. So why don't we flash up that graphics? If you're in the greater Atlanta, Georgia area, make sure you check out our friends over at Brookstone Animal Hospital for all of your animal hospital needs. Great sponsor of the series. But like I said, Drew, Freeman trying to go 2 for 2.
And this is certainly a great opportunity for him to do so. It's also an interesting opportunity for James Zarello to kind of get back up there, right? Starting on that inside line is certainly preferred if you're not going to be on that front row compared to starting on that outside lane. Man, look at all that smoke those guys are driving through. That is almost like back in real life when they would drive through that oil stay dry stuff, right? When they would kick that up and it would produce this huge amounts of smoke, which I can't imagine as a driver would be too great to drive through, to experience. But I don't think that smoke will be a factor, as Jason Freeman, last week's race winner, will be leading these guys to the green flag here. 25 laps to go when he takes this green flag. Here he goes, 94, Jason Freeman, great restart. JT Poole, not a great restart, probably the worst that we've seen from that 26 truck thus far this race. Can he hold off James Lorello, who maybe quite a little bit bobble through 1 and 2 on the exit at 2? Is that 26 does a good job holding him off, and oh man, I thought there was going to be contact there, Peter.
Yeah, that was tight. Then that has allowed Jason Freeman up at the front of the field to scoot away just a little bit. We'll see if that closes down over the next few laps. We've seen Poole have a lot of short run pace here tonight, Drew, but we saw under that last long green flag run that the 94 Freeman was able to run him down. So now can Poole's short run pace come to the forefront here over the final 23 laps?
Really going to be interesting to see. Yeah, we haven't really seen that 94 get up there much this race. We saw him, close in on Lorello, but I don't know if Lorello didn't quite nail his pit stop or what, but kind of hurt that 9 truck. Ever since then, he has not been quite as quick as now we're looking at Robert Dudley, who has been involved in more than one incident this race. He is 11th position. And coming into tonight, was Robert a factor of these points? He was. So Robert is in a decent position here. Unfortunately, Ben Adams is a guy that's right behind him. And then tonight's poll, we're looking at now, is currently in 8th position, fighting Mitchell Adams, who we've kind of said has had the quieter nights that he's had this year. And that 49 truck been so quick with so many different tracks. And this race in North Wilkesboro, not quite having the pace of those front-running drivers, but still a solid run in 7th position nonetheless. Right where he started, in fact, was Mitchell Adams. And Ray Heilig, another guy who, we saw his interactions with the now retired 98 truck having some drama earlier on there, Peter. But Matt Vanderkoy, my apologies, out there as well. Looking back up front, Jason Freeman and JT Poole. JT not able to really close in, just maintaining at this point, Peter.
Yeah, you're right. I just flashed to Matt Vanderkoy there briefly because he had come back down pit road to fix some more of his damage and back out there onto the racetrack. Not been the night Vanderkoy was wanting. I think all 4 corners of that truck have been banged in during the course of tonight's 200-lap event here at North Wilkesboro. Somewhat surprised to see that the sun isn't setting any faster, Drew. I'm not sure what the deal is there, but at one point I thought perhaps this race might go into the darkness. We've seen that before where they haven't quite set the time right. At least I've seen it in other leagues, not in NSRA, but I've seen it in other leagues where they don't set the time right and you end up in the dark on a track without any lights, and it makes for a very interesting race and broadcast for that matter. But that number 94 here, Freeman, plenty of light to see his way around the racetrack and possibly to see out his 2nd career victory here in the NSRA and as many starts here in the Simbox Truck Series. Got the start last week. He was sponsored by one of the fellow drivers not in the race here tonight, Stephen Doziak. And Doziak put his name on the line for Jason Freeman, and Freeman has possibly stunk up the show for 2 weeks in a row, playing spoiler for all of the other drivers here trying to make their way into the chase. Very, very impressive. And speaking of that chase, Drew, you mentioned it, Ben Adams looks very solidly locked in that 12th position right now. Very solidly locked in to the chase. So for all you Ben Adams fans back at home, Tana Himmelman, I'm sure you're watching. Ben Adams looks like he will be one of the 10 drivers making his way into the chase as of right now, but still 12 laps to go. Crazier things have happened in racing. At least somewhere, right? Something crazy's happened, but it would definitely take something very crazy to happen for Adams to miss the chase here as Freeman continues now to actually pull out a little bit larger of a lead over JT Poole, now up to almost 0.7 of a second. That 94 truck really enjoying the clean air, Drew.
The 26 loses the rear. Oh, what a save by JT Poole. Just lost the rear going into 1 and 2 and did a really good job. He'd been struggling on exit just a little bit, including the exit of 4, and I wonder if he just kind of overheated those rear tires as he really sent it going into 1 and 2, just trying to do whatever he could to make up some ground on Freeman. You see, man, oh, wow, almost a full half rotation, maybe almost a full rotation over on the steering wheel, and that's a really, really outstanding job by JT to keep that thing under control. But those rear tires are not going to be happy after that. But James Arello now has a clear path to Jason Freeman, but we are really, really closing in on the tail end of this race here, Peter. Just 9 laps to go, 8 laps to go here as it's all on James Dorello. He's the only guy that has a shot to prevent that 94 truck from going back-to-back in his first 2 starts here in the NSRA Simbox Truck Series.
And remember who spoiled the Lorello party last week? It was this man right here in the number 94 machine. Lorello leading 122 laps here tonight. Freeman, he will have led 38 this time by. Now just 6 laps to go in that Mason-Dixon Cornhole Chevrolet. Running in third right now. How about Josh Sobel? I had a sit down with Josh Sobel earlier this week, just a couple days ago, and he says, I've put hundreds of laps around this joint in this truck, and he said he felt like he had a good shot as much as anyone here, and he's backing his words up with a solid podium run. He does have JT Poole right on his tail, but we've seen Poole abuse his tires there with that long slide. So could we be looking at, Van der Kooi there scraping the wall once again. Could we be looking at Sobel stepping up onto the podium here tonight as we now just have 4 more laps to go around the famed North Wilkesboro Speedway and determining who will make the Simbox Chase.
Yeah, it's really looking good for Ben Adams to secure that last position. As just looking at our other drivers through the field, good thing that Colin Ullery had a pretty big margin coming into tonight, because finishing 26th, if he were in any way in danger, would not have been what he was looking for. And Jeffrey Johnson Jr. having a solid night in 16th position. But again, yeah, looking at Mitchell Adams now back down into 8th position as Jason Freeman. Lorello closed about 1/10 of a second right when he got 2nd position, and is closing a little bit this time by, but I'm just not seeing anything that's going to indicate that in this now white flag lap, as Jason Freeman takes the white flag, I just don't see a real way for James to get up there and compete. But it's there's still another corner to go as Jason Freeman now goes through 3 and 4 on lap 200, back-to-back, 2 starts, 2 wins. Jason Freeman wins at North Wilkesboro.
How about that? It looked like it was Lorello's race to lose, and it was right there in the final pit stop of the night. Lorello was not able to come off pit road first. It was that number 94 machine of Jason Freeman with just a fraction of a better pit stop, and that was enough to hold off a hard-charging JT Poole. Freeman here gonna burn it down here on the front stretch once again, much like he did. Well, he wasn't able to do it last week, Drew, because he ran out of fuel after the start-finish line to take the checkered flag. So for the first time, he's able to do burnouts here. So he's got to do double burnouts. He's got to make up for last week and here tonight at North Wilkesboro. Looks like he's going to do a little bit of a Polish victory lap as he works his way around this racetrack in reverse. Great job there by Jason Freeman to take the checkered flag. And how about Josh Sobel? His resurgence continues here in the championship. Unable to make the chase at the start of the race here tonight, but 3rd place, Josh Sobel. What a stellar job he's done over the last few weeks.
He's certainly seen or shown an amount of pace that we really haven't seen from him before this. Outstanding effort by Josh. A really good run by James, but man, Jason Freeman, the guy that we're looking at right now, you couldn't ask for a better start to your Simbox Truck Series career, could you, Peter? 2-4-2.
Yeah, that definitely is very impressive. Brings it to a halt here on the front stretch. I'm sure he's going to try and get the flag from the flagman and go celebrate. But folks, we're going to step away here for just a brief moment. We're going to line up some post-race interviews for you right here on 3Y TV. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
final time. It'll be the 29 of Healing leading him down into turn number 4, but look at him, bobbing back and forth to gain of Michael Mooney. Oh, the 29's going to go up the Speedway. He's going to make contact with Milner. Milner going to slam the inside wall. Michael Mooney now will drag race the 8 of Garcia. Oh, they make contact. Mooney's going to win here tonight at Daytona.
All right, folks, welcome back to North Wilkesboro Speedway, where tonight's race has come to its conclusion. And what a great race it was. We finally were able to get some green flag runs there at the end and get some of these drivers to the finish line. And the driver coming home in third here tonight, Joshua Sobel. I've caught up with him. Josh, man, you and I had a chat a couple days ago. And you said you had run hundreds of laps around this joint, and you felt like you had a really good shot at the win here tonight, but coming up just a little bit short in that regard, but running third at the end. Great run for you. I know we keep mentioning your resurgence here ever since Twin Ring Motegi. You said you found something out. You don't know what, but here again tonight, putting on a good show for the fans.
Where am I? Is this what the interview feels like?
Yes, this is what the interview feels like.
Yeah, no, I really love this track a lot, and the track was a little bit hotter during the 400 laps I ran in practice by myself. Also, we run 60% fuel here, so it was all around just a little bit different. But I'm starting to nail those long runs, and I'm really happy with the finish. I don't think if JT would have made the mistake like he did in turn 1, I definitely wouldn't be here.
Yeah, JT made that mistake. He was trying his darndest to catch up to the back end of Jason Freeman to maybe give him a little one of those short track nudges. But, this racetrack is a very unique racetrack. You go uphill up into turn number 3. You go downhill into turn number 1. How does that make the car drive for all the people watching at home? Tell us in your words what you think about it.
It's weird because, there's definitely multi-groove racing here, which is why I like it as much as I do. But if you cut it in a little too short or too high coming out of 2, you can either catch that wall, or sometimes I've seen some guys spin on long run. Same with 3 and 4. If you get too low into 3 and 4 in the longer runs and you accelerate out, then you have a much higher chance of spinning out. So I love the personality of this track, honestly. One of my favorites.
Definitely is one that I enjoy going to myself. Always putting on a good show here on 3 Wide TV. But hey, the bad news is that you weren't able to make the chase. But we know that assuming you'll be back next season, you're definitely going to have a good shot next year with the way you've been running over the past few weeks. But we also have 7 more races left: Pocono, Michigan, Talladega, Bristol, Auto Club, ISM, and Chicagoland. Those 7 races, any of those races kind of stand out to you that you have circled that you think that you have a shot of winning? Of course, everyone has a shot of winning at Talladega, but any of those races that you can't wait for?
I love Michigan a lot. ISM is really good as well too. So those are 2 that I'm looking forward to the most. I hate Pocono, so I'm not looking forward to that race. But I'll just have to lay some laps down. Talladega always is interesting and a lot of fun, so I'm excited for that. I think my least favorite out of all of these, besides actually probably just Pocono, honestly. I think that's my least favorite out of all of them.
Well, definitely going to be fun to see exactly what you can do over those next few races. And, before we let you go, you do have fans in the chat rooting you on each and every week. You got Rich as well as the Stay Tuned Sports channel. I know you got people to thank. I know people want to hear their names called out here on the channel. So let's hear them, Josh.
Oh man, yeah. Revolution Sports for letting me race with them. Ben Adams, Mitchell Adams, Paul Billson, Andrew Himmelman, and oh my God, my brain is not working right now. Never mind. Sorry. Yeah, those guys for letting me race, and Jimbo, man, oh god, finally in the top three. I don't even know what to say really. We just did a podcast together yesterday talking about some hockey and some iRacing and stuff like that. So obviously a huge shout out to him. My dad is always watching these races. He's a huge race fan. He used to work for NASCAR a long time ago. So it's cool to see him kind of like support me in something that's more virtual.
Absolutely. And Josh, thank you for supporting the National Sim Racing Association, being here each and every week, as well as Simbox and the Simbox Truck Series. Great job here tonight at North Wilkesboro. We'll see you again right here, same place next time for a track. You say you don't like Pocono, but I'll say Pocono is always one of those tracks where you don't have to like it to be fast at it. So we will see you there. Best of luck next week.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. I'll see you all next week.
All right, well, folks, that is the number 30 of Josh Sobel, and I do believe Mr. Drew Eisenman has caught up with our second place finisher here tonight, that being the number 9 machine of James Lorello.
Hey, James Lorello, Drew Eisman up here in the 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha.
Well, we saw you do some great things tonight, lead so many laps, over 100 laps led, but just late race chaos kind of ensued. A little bit of a slow pit stop, and then the second start, the second win for that 94 truck. Just give us a little bit of a rundown of your race and how it went from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, this track is tough. It's tough to pass. I feel like once you get ahead, it's pretty easy to maintain a lead. So I was hoping for a longer run. We finally got one there, and I was able to hold off JT and Jason. That pit stop, I mean, I had a 14.5-second pit stop. So I think we might have to trade out maybe a tire changer or something next week because that was rough. Yeah, I feel like I couldn't quite get to him, but if you could stay out front, I feel like you could win it unless you used up your tires. But glad to come home second as we head into the playoffs, and glad this track's over with. I feel much better about the rest.
Yeah, speaking of this track being over with, it's also the end of the regular season. Just looking at what's upcoming, you've had so much success in the regular season, but not really many, if any, repeat tracks. We do have a second super speedway, but tracks like Michigan, Bristol, Auto Club, Phoenix, Chicagoland, places we haven't been to. Are you as confident in those tracks in performing as well as you have in the regular season?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about those tracks. I think the super speedway will be up for grabs, but I feel good about Bristol and the other mile and a halves. And we'll see about Phoenix, but or ISM. But I've had a couple, 2 races of bad luck here. Ran out of gas last week. I didn't fill my car enough. And then this week with the pit stop. So hopefully it's gone now with the regular season's over, and with the playoffs, my good luck will come back.
I mean, having bad luck finishing second is certainly, I think, what most people would consider having a good luck night. But you mentioned Pocono, which is our race next week. How are you feeling going into the Tricky Triangle?
Yeah, I really enjoy Pocono. I think it's a cool track. I'm hopeful that will be one that kind of goes caution free and can be kind of a fuel mileage game, especially with the smaller fuel tanks in this series. I think we're gonna have a custom setup next week, so we'll see how that goes. I won't really practice until we get to the race day. So I feel good about Pocono. We'll see how it goes.
If your performances this year are any indication, I think you're gonna have a good shot there at Pocono. It is one of those kind of more unique challenges that we face on the oval side here on iRacing. You've had a heck of a regular season, just one position shy of your 6th win of the regular season. Before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, thanks you guys. I love going back and watching the broadcast. Always good. Even though you were yelling so loud last week, Peter, for my running out of fuel, it was great. And thanks to Simbox and everybody who puts on Max Grafix, Chris, and all the admins for league. It's been great. Excited for the playoffs.
James.
See you guys.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our second place interview here tonight. The number 9 machine of James Lorello. And let's see if we can dial up our race winner, the number 94 machine. Second week in a row that Jason Freeman in the Mason-Dixon Cornhole Chevy Silverado has worked his way to victory lane with a late race move. Jason, here tonight, great pit stop out of your pit crew, got you out front. You led a couple of laps earlier in the race when the different pit strategies were kind of cycling through in the first 50, 60 laps or so. But man, that late race pit stop, and you never looked back once you got to the front.
Yeah, I think clean air definitely played a role tonight. I learned that early on. In that first pit stop, when everyone pitted and I stayed out, those guys weren't really catching us. So I don't know. I thought that if I could get the lead there, and I came out of the pits there in second, but unfortunately, the one truck had trouble getting into the turn and was able to get to the lead there. So that worked out. And once I got out in clean air, I wasn't trying to push it, just trying to maintain what I needed to over second place.
Yeah, definitely enough to kind of see out the victory here tonight. And of course, Jason, you've been here to North Wilkesboro a couple times now here on 3 Wide TV. What are your thoughts about this racetrack?
Well, I like it. I like the history about it. It's a cool little racetrack, the downhill, uphill, and, turns 3 and 4 is a little different than 1 and 2. And I've always felt that I'm not that good here. So I'm honestly surprised at how well I ran tonight here. But I feel like it's so easy to not drive hard enough. And then it's also so easy to overdrive it. It's just that fine line. And I was on both sides of it tonight, but they're the last end, at least it all worked out.
Yeah, it definitely worked out for you here tonight. But of course, next week we go to Pocono. And you're now, from here on out, I mean, you're already playing spoiler, picking up 2 wins in a row. But from here on out, we got the Chase going on, and you would definitely play spoiler for the Chase drivers if you were to win any more races from here to the end of the season. Pocono next week, Michigan, Talladega, Bristol, Auto Club, ISM, and Chicagoland to round out the season. Any of those races that you kind of have circled on your radar to pick up yet another win?
I feel comfortable probably at all those tracks except Pocono, and that's unfortunate because it's my home track, but I wish I was a lot better there. But one of those tracks I've always struggled at. I feel like, before iRacing days and playing console games and all that, it doesn't matter what I've been on. Pocono's always been a struggle for me. So I don't know. Maybe we'll try to turn that around next week and see what happens.
Well, definitely going to be an interesting one. We've heard, I think, from pretty much everyone that Pocono, except for maybe Lorello, that Pocono could be a little bit of a bogey race. So we'll have to see what next week brings here on the channel. But Jason, congratulations. 2 in a row here. And before we let you go, give us those shout-outs.
Oh, yeah. Mason-Dixon Cornhole on my truck. Go ahead. Go out on Facebook. Give it a like. Follow along. It's a cornhole league that we play locally here with. And got to thank. I had a couple friends that tuned in tonight and watched. Thank them for coming out, spending their Friday night watching me play a sim. I guess you call it a sim or a video game, whatever you want to call it. But I like to call it a sim. Some of my friends like to call it a video game. But thank them and thank my wife for giving me a little bit of time this evening to myself to be able to do this.
Absolutely, Jason. I'm sure we'll see you again next week here on 3 Wide TV, Monday night, Total Nonstop Racing, and then on Friday night back here in the Simbox Truck Series. So maybe we'll get to talk to you again. I know the seat is still warm, so to speak, from your last win last week here on the channel, and maybe we can keep that running again with another win Monday night and possibly even Friday night. We'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah, that'd be nice, but like I said, I'm just grateful to win one of these races on here in a broadcast race, and luckily through this fall and winter, I've been able to pick up a couple, so it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Well, folks, that's going to do it here for our race winner interview. Jason Freeman, once again, going to victory lane 2 for 2 here in the series. Well, Drew, been a wild night here at North Wilkesboro. We saw a lot of banged up trucks, a lot of trucks not having the night that they wanted, but definitely for that number 94 machine, taking home the win.
Yeah, great performance. I mean, like we mentioned, 2 for 2, a heck of a run. Jason Freeman, our winner for tonight. James Zarello, we talked to him as well. He had so much success this season, just comes home 0.88 seconds shy of his 6th race victory of the regular season. He'll end the regular season with 5, though, and another second-place finish here at North Wilkesboro. Josh Sobel continues his strong form as he starts 4th, finishes 3rd. JT Poole had that late race drama, losing the rear end of that truck going into turn 1, but he had a heck of a recovery to keep it in that top 5, finishing 4th. Nathan Maurer, a kind of a quiet night. It almost feels like we didn't talk about him enough. In that 971 truck, he'll bring it home in 5th position. Chris Darling had so much potential, so much pace. Didn't quite work out, I think, the way that he was hoping. He'll finish 6th. Doug Neal, our pole sitter, he won the pole, led a few laps early. Ultimately, I don't think just didn't quite have the feel for that truck on the long runs. He'll finish in 7th. Mitchell Adams, probably the most quiet night we've had from that 49 truck. He started 7th, finished 8th. Bill Edwards started 16th, finished 9th. Another one of those guys that I think has kind of maybe lost touch with what the truck likes here in the later stages of this regular season. He'll hope to regain that form that he had earlier in the regular season. And Ray Heilig kind of had a drama-filled night between bumping guys, being bumped. He will still bring that 7 tick-tock truck home in 10th position, Peter.
And running in the 11th position, Robert Dudley, who also picks up the Taz Racing Customs Biggest Mover of the Race Award. Of course, they specialize in custom diecasts, and they can make your iRacing custom diecast or your real NASCAR racing diecast. That award goes to our 11th place finisher here tonight, Robert Dudley. Unfortunately for Robert Dudley, he was about 28 markers, I believe, out behind Ben Adams coming into tonight. And as you can see, Dudley did finish above Adams, but every spot is only worth 1 point, so he's only going to pick up about 1 point on Adams here tonight. So Dudley will miss the chase, and good news for Ben Adams is he will make the chase and be the 10th driver to lock himself into the Simbox Chase. Monty Glover finishing in 13th. He was 1 lap down a couple times in the race, picking up that Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award. Good job for him to finish there in lucky number 13. Peter Serto, first truck, 1 lap down in 14th. Then Jordan Shepler, another truck who had a very tumultuous night there, finishing 15th. Jeffrey Johnson Jr. also locking himself into the chase just about at the start of tonight's race with the number of trucks we had in the field. He will finish in 16th. We'll see him battle it out over the next 7 races for the championship. Philip Scott coming home in 17th in the number 44 truck. I was expecting a lot of pace out of him, but another one of those trucks getting caught up in quite a bit of damage. Jamar Dumas, his night really got off on the wrong foot very early on after he took a trip down pit road, finishing in 18th, 3 laps down. Matt Vanderkoy, another truck, having tough luck, hitting the wall quite a few times. Not all of his own doing, that's for dang sure, but Vanderkoy there finishing down in 19th. In the 60, and rounding out your top 20, one of the drivers who will not qualify for the Simbox Chase, Andrew Himmelman.
TJ Buck will finish in 21st. Not the night he was looking for. Jason Grassi's in that 98/number 3 truck, depending on timing and scoring or the paint scheme. He gambled on those 2 tires. It did not pay off, and he will come home in 22nd. Barry Knapp will bring that 42 truck home in 23rd. Doug Milner in that 6th, another one of those guys that kind of had an eventful night in the way that you don't want to have an eventful night. He'll bring it home in 24th. Ben Mashburn in that beautiful throwback Jeff Gordon scheme. Didn't quite have a beautiful finish. He'll bring it home in 25th. Colin Ullery in that kind of chrome Red Bull looking scheme will bring it home in 26th. Matt Cherry making his return to the Truck Series. Ultimately got loose at a turn 2 and caused quite a pileup on the backstretch. He'll bring it home in 27th. And then Adam Dama had that incident on lap 1 and was the only lap that he partook in. And he will round out our field in 28th position.
Yeah, so quite a night. We'll go back to the points as they looked coming into tonight. Of course, tonight was the cutoff race, and all those drivers that you see on the left-hand side of your screen, all the green names and the white names, Jeffrey Johnson Jr., Colin Ullery, Ben Adams, they join the 7 drivers up top. Those 10 drivers on the left-hand side of your screen, they all make the Simbox Chase. The names on the right, they all miss out. We have 10 drivers left to determine who will be the Simbox Truck Series champion. 7 races to determine it. Make sure you tune in here on 3Y TV to not miss out, because there are going to be 7 fantastic races, and every single one of them right here, same time, same place on Friday nights. And Drew, North Wilkesboro, it had everything you expect to see at a short track. We had cars bumping and banging. We saw a little bit of retaliation there in the middle of the race. We saw a strong finish. We saw how difficult it was to pass. I don't think North Wilkesboro left anything else left to the imagination. I think it was a stellar race, and I'm looking forward to see what we have next week at Pocono.
Absolutely. I definitely anticipate a different type of race unfolding tonight. Really close quarters, kind of, like being like 12 people crammed in an elevator. Kind of seems unthinkable given the times that we live in right now, but that's kind of what tonight was, right? Not a lot of room to maneuver versus Pocono. A lot of room to maneuver, a lot of space. It should be a fun one. Going into turn 1 is always a fun time. The tunnel turn 3, right? 3 very different corners, very different challenges, a custom setup to tackle those challenges. And it tends to be one of those tracks where skill absolutely comes to the forefront. And I expect a lot of the guys that ran well tonight to run well there tomorrow. And it's the first round of their playoff format, and I can't wait.
Absolutely. Well, folks, here on 3Y TV, we want to give a shout out to Simbox for sponsoring the National Sim Racing Association Simbox Truck Series. Of course, if you are a sim racer yourself and you're curious about getting a button box, make sure you check out our friends at Simbox. Link is in the description to their Facebook page. Also want to give a shout out to our friends over at Sim TV for the camera angles that we bring you each and every week here on the channel. But for myself, Peter Short, and Drew Eisenman, we will see you guys next week at Pocono for what will be the Tricky Triangle. See ya!
Final time. It'll be the 29 of Healing leading him down into turn number 4. But look at him, bobbing back and forth to gain of Michael Mooney. All the 29's going to go up the Speedway. He's going to make contact with Milner. Milner going to slam the inside wall. Michael Mooney now will drag race the 8 of Garcia. Oh, they make contact. Mooney's going to win here tonight at Daytona.